Picture this, a room full of people, dead silent, staring at a deck of cards like it owes them money. 60 seconds later, one of them recites the entire deck back to you, in order, without blinking. That's not a magic trick, that's just a normal Tuesday at the World Memory Championship. These people memorize hundreds of random numbers, entire shuffled decks, and strangers' names, in the time it takes you to find your car keys. And here's the plot twist, their brains are not built differently from yours. No superhuman wiring, no photographic memory gene, no secret chip installed at birth. What they have is a trick, and it's roughly 2,500 years old. It's called the memory palace, or if you want to sound fancy at dinner parties, the method of loci. And weirdly enough, we can thank a single collapsed banquet hall in ancient Greece for discovering it. Let's rewind, way back. There was a poet named Simonides, hired to perform at a lavish banquet in Thessaly. Midway through the evening, he stepped outside for a moment, lucky him, and the entire hall collapsed behind him. Every single guest was crushed, and the bodies were so mangled that grieving families couldn't even identify who was who. Total chaos, understandably. But Simonides did something strange. He closed his eyes and mentally walked back through the banquet hall. He pictured exactly where each guest had been sitting, that one by the wine table, this one near the door, and just like that, he could name every single body. Not because he had some freakish gift for remembering faces, but because he remembered where they were standing. And that's when it clicked for him, our brains are shockingly good at remembering places, way better than they are at remembering, say, a grocery list. Fast forward 2.5 millennia, and science has basically confirmed Simonides was onto something huge. Deep inside your brain sits a small seahorse-shaped structure called the hippocampus. Its main jobs are spatial navigation and memory encoding. Basically, it's your brain's built-in GPS and filing cabinet rolled into one. Every time you walk into your own home, your hippocampus is quietly mapping it, the gate, the hallway, that weird squeaky step you always forget about. This spatial map is incredibly detailed, and it barely takes any effort to store. You didn't sit down and study the layout of your house, you just absorbed it by living in it. Compare that to trying to memorize, say, the number 7391482. Your brain treats that about as warmly as a cold email from a stranger. Numbers, names, and random facts are abstract, and abstract information just doesn't stick the same way spatial information does. So memory champions figured out a workaround. Instead of fighting the brain, use it the way it already wants to work. They take something abstract and boring, a number, a word, a stranger's name, and mentally place it somewhere inside a location they know incredibly well. Usually that's their own home, walk through room by room, like a very specific, very weird open house tour. This is dual coding in action. You're pairing spatial memory with vivid visual imagery, and the combination is dramatically stronger than either one alone. Say you need to remember by milk. Instead of just repeating it in your head like a nervous parrot, you imagine a giant milk carton bursting open right on your front doorstep. Ridiculous image, sure, but ridiculous is memorable, and boring is forgettable. Next stop, the hallway. Maybe you picture a giant loaf of bread doing push-ups, because you also need eggs and protein bars. It sounds silly, and honestly, it is a little silly, but your brain doesn't care about dignity, it cares about vividness. The weirder, funnier, or more exaggerated the image, the harder it is to forget. This is exactly what memory athletes are doing when they memorize a deck of cards in under a minute. Every card gets assigned a specific, often absurd character or action, and each one gets placed along a familiar mental route. The King of Spades might be doing something outrageous on their childhood staircase, the Ace of Hearts flirting shamelessly in the kitchen. When it's time to recall, they don't search their memory randomly, they simply walk the route in their mind, location by location. And because the brain loves sequences and spatial order, the information comes back in the exact right order, almost automatically. This is the real secret. You're not memorizing the facts themselves, you're memorizing a journey, and letting the facts tag along for the ride. And here's the empowering part, this isn't some rare gift reserved for competition circuit weirdos in matching hoodies. It's a trainable skill, and pretty much anyone with a working hippocampus, so, you can learn it. So let's make this useful instead of just impressive sounding. Pick a route through your own home that you know on autopilot: gate, then veranda, then hall, then kitchen, say. That's your memory palace, and it already exists rent-free in your brain. Now take whatever you need to remember: a shopping list, a speech, your in-laws' birthdays, and break it into chunks. At the gate, place your first item as a wild, exaggerated visual, the weirder the better. At the veranda, place your second item, and so on, room by room, until your whole list has a home. When you need to recall it later, you don't panic search your memory, you simply walk the route again in your head. Gate, veranda, hall, kitchen, and the information practically walks out to greet you. It genuinely works for grocery lists, for exam material, for presentation notes, even for remembering someone's name 5 minutes after being introduced. Here's the real reframe, though: you were never bad at remembering things. You just spent your whole life trying to memorize information the way your brain doesn't naturally want to, as flat, boring, disconnected facts floating in space. Give your brain a place to put things, and suddenly you're not bad at memory, you're just untrained. Simonides didn't invent a superpower in that collapsed banquet hall, he just noticed how memory already worked, and gave it a shortcut. 2,500 years later, the trick still works exactly the same way, because your hippocampus hasn't changed either. So next time you forget where you put your keys, don't worry, your brain is fine, it just needs a house to put things in. If this made you want to go build a mental mansion and shove your entire to-do list inside it, smash that like button, your hippocampus will thank you. And subscribe, so next time your brain does something weird and fascinating, you're the first to find out why.